The type of organizational entity that you set up is it's one of your most critical decisions that you need to make very early on in the process. We are pretty unique. A lot of companies these days are LLCs. You have partnerships, you have an individually owned corporation or companies like, a lot of the trades like that, plumbers, painters, that type of thing. For Death of the Fox, what we decided was to set our corporate structure based on our financing. Okay, so the initial financing of the company. Now, I spent over 20 years in corporate, and through that time, I had kind of grown a decent sized nest egg in my 401k. So once I decided to move forward with starting my own company, I looked at different lease options and banks and that type of thing. But one thing I didn't necessarily want to do was to go into a lot of debt right away. I've seen so many companies do that. They take on too much debt, and then it becomes, as their business grows, or that growth takes a little longer than expected, it's very challenging to repay that debt, and then they're paying debt to pay off other debt, and that becomes kind of a downward spiral that I've seen multiple times. I wanted to avoid that. So what I did is I did quite amount of research into different financing options and found an option that allowed me to, instead of, let's say, I'll use the analogy, typical 401ks are invested in the stock market, bonds, stocks, things like that, over a variety of different companies, stock portfolios, and then you kind of balance your risk. But your 401k is dedicated towards that. Most people don't know that you can invest in yourself also. You can invest in your own company with your 401k, and that's called a rollover savings to start a business, or otherwise known as ROBS, which is a program out there that allows an individual like myself to be able to take the money that he has set aside for his retirement and invest in it now versus at retirement. So that way we avoided the debt scenario. Okay, pretty much in order to roll over that investment into my company, the government requires that I set it up as a C corporation. Okay, which is, there are a lot of S corporations out there. As I mentioned, there's a lot of LLCs, not many C corporations. Some people shy away because of the tax structure with C corporations, but in our case, it made perfect sense. There's some additional reporting requirements that you need to fulfill. However, you basically invest in a company and you are an officer of that company. You pay yourself a salary. You're not taking out, let's say, a personal investment like you would on an LLC, like a percentage of the business. You pay yourself a salary and you run it like any other company. And then ultimately, either in selling the company or when I reach, and I'm getting closer to retirement age, but when you retire from that company, you can sell the company and then retire off of that income. And so that's kind of the route that I'm taking here with our C corporation.